Hi, it's Danielle. Welcome to my perfume journal where I document my love of perfume. I love a good perfume tag, and recently the wonderful Claire Smith posted a tag video that was awesome to watch. I will link her video down below as well as the original creators of the tag, Carmen and Ganny, and I thought I'd have a go at this tag myself. I'm never sure who likes to be tagged, who doesn't like to be tagged, so if any of my fellow creators here on YouTube would like to have a go at this, I will watch every second of your video, probably twice. So the idea of this tag is to choose a different fragrance for each category, and there are 30 categories. Claire was right, this is harder than it seems. I tried not to think too hard about it and go with my gut, and I was able to do that for about 14 of the categories, and the rest, I really had to look at my collection and spend some time deciding. So for each of these, I chose perfumes that I had in my main collection only, so bottles or travels, no decants, no samples, off we go. So the first category is vanilla. And of course, I had to choose the vanilliest vanilla that ever vanillaed for me anyway, and that is Shalimar l'Essence. Now, really, Shalimar l'Essence is an amber perfume, but in this one, Delphine Jelk has doubled up the vanilla for the 100th anniversary of Shalimar in 2025 with an extra dose of this gorgeous, rich, sweet, velvety bourbon vanilla. So all of the leatheriness in the original Shalimar is like drenched in vanilla. It's still a little bit smoky, it's still Shalimar, but the vanilla is what really stands out in this flanker. And in a sea of vanilla perfumes, this is the vanilla for me. So the next category is rose, and this was a really tough one. So I do have a few really lovely rose forward scents in my collection, but for this category, I am not going for a straightforward rose. I'm going for a rose patchouli with a big heaping dollop of strawberry puree, and it is Miracle Muse from Miller Harris. This is a very jammy rose. Instead of being like light or petally or dark and thorny, this is a sweeter rose. It's very similar to the rose in Rose Jam by Lush, if you've ever smelled that. And then it's made extra jammy by this strawberry note and a teeny bit of rum. And then because it is a rose patchouli, there's a bit of earthiness here, but not too much, just enough to let you know you're in that rose patchouli territory. It's sweet and fruity and rosy and a little bit syrupy, and this is my choice for the rose category. The next category is oud. And so while we're on the subject of jammy roses, this is Rosamunda from Laboratorio Olfativo. While some of these perfumes in this video were instant picks, I actually had to research my collection to see if I even had anything with oud in it. And it was down to two. It was this perfume and a decant of Oud Nude by Guerlain, and since decants don't count, we're going with Rosamunda. So while Miracle Muse that I just talked about is squarely a rose patch, this is very squarely a saffron rose oud. And I would say that the closest thing that I've come to in my sniffaries is Arabesque from Ormond Jane. I once sprayed that sample on a sweater, and the scent did not come out of the sweater for months, and that is not an exaggeration. So Rosamunda is not nuclear like that one. It is softer, it's sweeter, it's less sharp, it's much more jammy. This is a very nice, serviceable rose oud for anyone who is looking for that profile and wants to try something that isn't going to cost an absolute fortune. Laboratorio Olfativo's perfumes come in at a pretty good price for the size. I chose the 30 ml because rose oud is something that I'm kind of only in the mood for sporadically, so this little bottle seemed perfect for that. So this is my pick for oud. So next up is a Gourmand perfume. So we're still in Italy. This is Dolce Acqua from Perfume Roma, and I have said this many times on my channel. If I had to choose only one Gourmand perfume for the rest of my life, this would be the one. It is a very simple list of notes. It's almond, vanilla, coconut, and tonka. It is nutty, it is powdery, it's sweet but not too sweet, it's edible but not hyper-realistically so. To me, this is like utterly delicious, but it still smells like a perfume. All of the notes are in perfect balance. Each one pays its own visit to your nose in due time and then sometimes together. And I really cannot imagine another Gourmand ever taking the place of this one in my Gourmand Hall of Fame. The next category is honey. And I really had to dig to find a perfume in my collection with honey. Everything I've ever smelled and put into spreadsheets or into my perfume database online with a honey note has been a sample. And so I was very surprised to see that I only had one perfume in my entire collection with a honey note, and it is my favorite weirdo perfume, L'Oreal de Bois from Jacques Fath. So this is really a mimosa perfume, but it's a weird mimosa. It's got that signature soft, pillowy fluffiness of mimosa, but it's very polleny. Like it almost goes into sour territory because of the polleniness. And then the honey note just kind of like sweetens everything up a bit. So this is one that you can find on the discounters, and it's a really interesting weirdo of a mimosa perfume with a honey note. Okay, the next category is citrus, and I chose Arancia Rosa from Laboratorio Olfativo. I did not have to think for more than a millisecond about this one. My all-time favorite citrus perfume is this one by Jean-Claude Ellena. It is blood orange, passion fruit, orange blossom, and musk. This comes from the Viaggio collection, and this really does smell like an Italian vacation. The blood orange is slightly pulpy, but like only slightly. Mostly what you're getting here is the tart rind and the pith. And with that tangy passion fruit, this is just one of the most refreshing things in the world. The orange blossom adds some green, and the musk is like undetectable, but it does for the perfume what only Jean-Claude Ellena can do with a citrus perfume, and that is make it last for a while. Not all day, but a while. And so if I were ever going to go on a Mediterranean vacation, this is the one and only perfume that I would take. Okay, the next category is the all year round perfume. And for this category, I really had to think hard again about what perfume to choose. I definitely knew I wanted it to be something soapy because a soapy perfume for me is always a good choice in any season, any occasion. So I had four contenders for this category. It was Versace's Crystal Noir, which is like soapy, figgy, coconutty, gardenia, but I don't really reach for that one in the summer, so that was out. Then Melograno. I rarely reach for that soapy, mossy one in the winter, so that was out. Pure Poison. I just wasn't feeling that soapy five-star hotel kind of white floral for this category, no particular reason. So that left me with the Diva, Chanel No. 5 Eau Premiere. When I was deciding on a Chanel No. 5, I chose this particular version of the soapy aldehydic classic exactly because it is good all year round. The aldehydes and the neroli, they just like sparkle in the spring and the summer. And then the florals and the vanilla and the sandalwood feel so elegant in the fall and the winter. So what is better for a year-round perfume choice than one of the most classic perfumes of all time? The next category is Tuberose, and this was an easy choice. The biggest, the plumpest, the most bombastic Tuberose, Michael from Michael Kors. This is a little sweet, a little spicy, a little woody, a lot bold. And sometimes I look back on the years that I wore this perfume every day, and I think about how much my tastes have changed over the years. I still love to wear this perfume every now and then, but to me now it is far too strong for everyday wear and also far too strong for more than a single spray, maybe two. So even though this is an infrequent reach for me, I still love and will always love Michael as my number one Tuberose perfume. So the next category is spring, and this was another easy one, a Drop de C from Issey Miyake. This is just spring to me. We have a lilac tree, and in the late spring, the fragrance is just so heavenly. And a few years ago, I experimented with the perfumery technique of enfleurage. This is where you place flowers on top of a layer of fat. I used coconut oil in like a baking dish. And then the essence of the flower seeps into the fat, and every couple of days you change them out with new blooms. It takes a few weeks to complete the process, but the result is so worth it. At the end, I had 2 tubs of lilac scented moisturizer, so I could enjoy the scent of fresh lilacs long after the lilac season ended. And so a Drop de C takes the scent of a fresh lilac and it adds a bit of rose, a bit of almond milk, a bit of star anise, and a whole boatload of this very plasticky musk, which I personally love. I can see how others might not like it, but I love a plasticky musk, and it creates this very special and unique springtime fragrance, one of my all-time favorites. So the next category is summer, and I chose Pamplemousse from Guerlain's Aqua Allegoria line. I loved the Atelier Cologne citruses for summer. Pomelo Paradis and Clementine California were in very frequent rotation in July and August, but now this is my go-to summer perfume. This is all of the crispness and the tartness of a grapefruit made like extra, extra tart with some black currant. There's lots of green from neroli and petitgrain and bergamot. And then there is this surprise element of a very, very light dose of vanilla. It almost gives the feeling of like a halved grapefruit with a tiny bit of sugar sprinkled on top. And so the vanilla, and I think there's just a tad of patchouli in here. What they do is they make this perfume hold up in the heat of summer. And there is something just magical to me about the Aqua Allegoria line. To me, it is the like Guerlain version of what I experience in Prada's Infusion line. It's like this diffusive quality. And in the Infusion line, it's an airiness. And in the Aqua Allegoria line, it's a radiance. So this is a radiant, sunny, beautiful grapefruit and my favorite summer scent. Okay, the next category is autumn. So the second I see a tinge of color in the leaves or a little chill in the air, out come the ambers, the resins, the incenses. I love a resinous perfume in the fall. And so my fall pick is Benjoin Bohème from Diptyque. In this perfume, you have the sweet, warm hero note of benzoin, which also sort of mimics frankincense in this perfume. So there's a little bit of lift or lightness to it. It's not heavy, it's not oppressive. And then couple that with some lovely cistus that adds a little bit of like a tobacco leaf to the scent. And then there's some Peru balsam and spices that give it a little bit of warmth. But this is not like a creamy or a velvety perfume at all. There is a quality to this that is almost sparkling. I've always described this perfume as smelling like liquid gold. So to me, this is the perfect scent for those months when the weather is like cooling off, but we still want to be outside before we start hibernating for winter. Those of us in the Northern Hemisphere who turn into bears in late December and January. This perfume is so excellent in October, November, when there's a chill in the air, but the sun is still like casting that lovely golden light over everything. In fact, that is pretty much what Benjoin Bohème smells like to me, that lovely golden light. Okay, the next category is winter. So my winter perfume is Angel Stellar from Mugler. So when it turns cozy comfort time, hibernation time, time to pack on a few extra pounds, get out the blankets, I love a good perfumey gourmand. This is all of the cotton candy ethyl maltol sweetness and chocolatey patchouli of the original, but just like dialed back a little bit. It's like softened up around the edges, and then it has this huge dollop of pistachio cream filling. It is positively lush. It is so cozy, so comforting, so scrumptious, but it still smells like a perfume. Okay, the next category is musk. What else could I possibly choose for this category other than a Narciso Rodriguez perfume? So this is Narciso Poudre. The Narciso musk is legendary. You will know it when you smell it. It is a thick, marshmallowy, pillowy, fluffy, dense musk. And in Poudre, it is coupled with rose, jasmine, and a little bit of light woodiness. This feels like a grown-up squishmallow. It almost actually has that like squishy, soft texture to it. Musks can be clean, they can be animalic, they can be woody, they can add like an invisible heft to a perfume. But what Narciso Rodriguez has done with musk is like something else, something different, something totally unique. Okay, the next category is tropical. So I knew from the minute I tried this perfume that this would be the one and only tropical perfume I would ever need, ever want for the rest of my life. This is Le Grand Jeu from Voyage Imaginaire. So this brand is a partnership between Annick Goutal's daughter, Camille Goutal, and the longtime Goutal perfumer, Isabelle Doyen. And they prioritize using really excellent, high quality, natural materials in their perfumes. So to me, Le Grand Jeu is like the crown jewel of their line. It is simply coconut milk, tuberose, gardenia, and vanilla. The florals are very white, very creamy, but there's this like little hidden touch of like stemmy snapped green in them that totally sets the florals apart from other fragrances with similar notes. The coconut milk is also creamy, but also a little bit refreshing. It's very natural smelling, not like the kind of coconut you would find in like a premixed cocktail drink. And the vanilla is also very natural and a bit green. Think more like Diptyque style vanilla than like Kayali vanilla for reference. So this perfume is just stunning and transportive without being literal. It's more like, remember the video by Aha from the 80s of Take On Me where he like jumps into an alternate reality and he's like in a sketch of reality? This is like that. This is like you've jumped into a painting of a tropical island rather than the literal island itself. It is beautiful. So the next category is sexy. And we all know what my choice had to be for this category. It is Boudoir from Vivienne Westwood, a longtime unicorn of mine since I smelled the original, now re-released by the Vivienne Westwood company itself. This is sexy, sexy, sexy stuff. You've got these spicy, bodacious florals, this rich, seductive vanilla, aldehydes that give like this little come hither wink, and lightly animalic musks. There is a reason this is called boudoir, basically bedroom. This is definitely the smuttiest perfume I own, and I love it. Okay, our next category is easy to wear, and that is Infusion de Riz from Prada. Whenever I am standing in front of my perfume cabinet, waffling around about what to wear or feeling indecisive, I can always reach for Infusion de Riz. It is a soft, very friendly iris. It has that airy diffusiveness that comes in every perfume, I think, in the Infusion line, and it has a touch of fresh green. It is one of those perfumes that I never, ever, ever regret putting on. It is my go-to travel scent. It is just like such an affable, unfussy, classic perfume. Daytime, nighttime, always works. By far the easiest reach in my collection and the easiest to wear. So the next category is Prettiest Perfume Bottle. And lucky for me, my all-time favorite perfume is also my prettiest perfume bottle, and that is Niki de Saint Phalle. Niki de Saint Phalle was a French artist and a sculptor known for her very colorful abstract work. And the original parfum bottle of this perfume was a total work of art. Talk about sculptural. It was a cobalt blue glass block with two snakes intertwined on top, one gold and one enameled. And as you can see in this bottle, her art was also painted on the glass splash bottles. There were a whole series of them dedicated to astrological signs as well. And then the spray bottle you see here is the signature blue glass, but with a sculpted gold cap. I love the shape of the splash bottle. I love the color of the glass. I love that Niki de Saint Phalle's art is included, along with her handwritten signature. I have many, many beautiful bottles in my collection, but this one has to be my absolute favorite. Holds the gorgeous green 80s floral woody chypre inside. Okay, the next category is beast mode. I think this is the first time I have ever used the term beast mode on my channel. I don't have a lot of beast mode perfumes, but for this category, there was only one choice. I had to go for the original beast mode perfume herself, Giorgio Beverly Hills. So the urban legend goes that this perfume, along with Poison from the 80s, was banned from restaurants because the sillage and the projection on these perfumes were so strong. They were like ruining the dining experience for people. I don't know how true that is, or if it's another story from the 80s, like Mikey from the Life cereal commercials had a life-threatening emergency from eating Pop Rocks and drinking Coke. But these are the stories that have been going around for over 40 years now, so let's just keep it that way. And this probably would have been banned for good reason. It is huge. I love it, but I am not sure that I would want to eat in a room where this was wafting all around me. This is a huge sweet tuberose, tons of yellow florals, an enormous dose of like overripe yellow and orange stone fruits like peaches and apricots. This is totally liquid Beverly Hills sunshine, so basically sunshine with a trust fund. This is shoulder pads so wide you have to turn sideways to walk through the door. That is how big this perfume is. So the next category is spicy amber. We are still in Gen X land now, so of course I had to go with opium. So my bottle is the EDT. This perfume launched in 1977. This bottle's probably from the late 80s or the early 90s. And so imagine the gasps when a perfume called opium launched back then. I mean, yes, we were at the end of the hippie era, which was laden with illicit stuff, but still, you didn't see it like so prominently featured front and center in marketing. I really, really struggled to find the right words to describe this perfume because how do you describe an absolute work of art? It is as intoxicating as the name would suggest. It is heady and hypnotic and dramatic. It is warm, rich spices, deep, deep resins, golden ambers, soft woods. It's everything you could ever want in a spicy amber perfume. It is perfection. And even Yves Saint Laurent himself said that this was the best perfume he could ever hope to have in his fashion line. So, our next category is feminine. Little side note here to say that I don't usually assign perfumes as masculine or feminine, but I think it's fair to categorize them as like masculine coded or feminine coded because it's a reference point. We can all understand, we have a shared vocabulary for that, but I definitely think that people should just wear what they want. Who cares about marketing? Who cares about gender norms when it comes to fragrance? If you like it and it smells good to you, wear it. Like, when it comes to my own personal perfume tastes, I do tend to lean more toward the feminine coded or feminine marketed perfumes, but I also love so many scents that are marketed or coded masculine. This is a tangent. Okay, I'm going on a tangent. So, the most femme coded perfume I think I have is Musk Noir Rose from Narciso Rodriguez. Tuberose, soft roses, plums, pillowy Narciso musk. It is so pretty. It went viral for a good reason. It is so easy to wear, such a lovely, beautiful scent. So the next category is romantic. Now, this was a tough category for me. I think I am like one of the least romantic people ever. I'm very practical, I'm very logical. Like, I told my husband, do not buy me an engagement ring because I would rather save money for a house. So that might give you an idea of how little of a romantic I am. However, I love love. And to me, there is nothing more romantic than the kind of love that is loyal and steady and timeless. And so for me, the perfume that really sums that up is Confetto from Perfume and Roma. It is meant to smell like the sugared almonds, the confetti you would receive as a favor at an Italian wedding. So the almond itself is bitter and the sugared coating is sweet. And together, that is meant to symbolize the commitment of a forever love. You will weather the bitter times and the sweet times together. So, a rational, logical look at romance, if you will. And that is why Confetto is my most romantic perfume. So, the next category is Femme Fatale. For this, I had to go with L'Entre de Rouge from Givenchy. L'Entre de Rouge is all of the things you imagine when you think of a femme fatale character. It is sweet, spicy, dark, mysterious, maybe even a little bit dangerous. Like even the white florals themselves feel dark. They feel like night blooming versions of themselves, mostly tuberose, seconded by there's jasmine and orange blossom. There is this spicy kick of ginger, there's some pimento, and this gorgeous deep blood orange at the top instead of your standard bergamot, and then a massive hit of patchouli. It is as sharp as a femme fatale's wit. And look at the color of this bottle, this deep red wine color. This is most definitely a femme fatale fragrance. Okay, the next category is inspired by. So I don't actually own any inspired by perfumes. I totally understand why dupes and clones exist. The price of fragrance can be redonkulous, and we all know what it costs this billions of dollars industry to actually make a perfume. So the market speaks, and now you can find a dupe for just about any perfume now. For me, though, and this is just me as a perfume enthusiast and hobbyist, this is what I like to do. If I try and enjoy a perfume that is super expensive, more than I'm like willing to pay for a bottle, or something I don't love enough to want a whole bottle of, because I can always ask the sales rep for a sample. That is a way that you can have a little taste of a pricey perfume, is ask politely for a sample. They might have some. Anyway, instead of buying a dupe, what I will do is happily go down an hours-long rabbit hole just to see if I can find a perfume that might smell similar, not the same, but similar. And then I'll try to like seek out a sample or smell it in a store, or if it's inexpensive enough, I'll blind buy it. And to me, that is part of the fun of this hobby. So, since I don't have any actual inspired by fragrances, I chose a reverse dupe. This is Benetton Hot. It is about $9. It came out in 1997, and it is so similar to another perfume that came out in 1999 that costs far more, and that is Chanel Allure. And the best way I can describe these two perfumes is that they are like a citrus floral rosewood blend. They're soft, they're warm, they're woody. They both have bright, like mandarin openings. They both have very gentle florals, and they both have soft, powdery, woody bases. And they smell very, very similar. They're really nice. And so, if you are not bothered by having a cheap perfume that looks like a sink faucet on your shelf, Hot is the bargain of the century. Okay, the next category is woody. What else for a woody perfume category could I possibly choose but Stash by Sarah Jessica Parker? This is, I think, the pièce de résistance in the entire SJP line. It is a quirky, woody, smoky, aromatic, spicy, resinous, balsamic, nutty, gorgeous thing. I cannot even put into words how much I love this. It is one of those perfumes you just have to smell for yourself, though. And I can see how this one would be polarizing. It is a bonfire of the most unusual woods. It is absolutely magnificent and the one woody perfume that I would keep out of my entire collection if I could only keep one. So the next category is dark. This was a tough category for me. I don't have a lot of dark perfumes. I think the darkest my perfume collection goes is like slightly moody. Dark perfumes are not something I have generally gravitated toward. Although, as I'm saying this, I feel like I might need to change that because now I am intrigued by what dark perfumes might actually speak to me. Anyway, for this category, I ended up choosing Adoram from Nez. So this has all of the incense of a dark stone church or cathedral with a heap of dry, dark cocoa powder. This is a very dry incense. That cocoa powder takes away any of the brightness or the gloss you sometimes find in an incense perfume, and it gives it like a matte top coat, like a matte finish. And so this is my choice among few for a dark perfume. So the next category is amber, and for amber, it's got to be obsession. It's always going to be obsession. So most people who are into perfumes probably know this already, but maybe there's somebody watching this video who's like, what's an amber? So an amber accord in a perfume isn't actually a singular material. Like nobody's melting down fossilized amber and making it into a material for perfumery. Amber is actually an accord. And it's fairly simple, but it can also be very, very complex. So if you see amber as a note in a pyramid, it might be made out of 3 materials, it might be made out of 20 materials. So basically, an amber accord is a vanilla, a resin, and a musk. Usually, amber accords also include labdanum or labdanum, depending on how you pronounce it. So I'm going to actually show you 2 examples of amber accords that I found when I was tinkering around with building accords and learning about perfumery. So first, here is a simple drop-based amber accord. You have 10 drops of benzoin, 5 drops of labdanum, and 1 drop of vanilla. And then a more complex one, this is an open source formula, which is created by weight. You have way more ingredients making up the amber accord. So anyway, kind of interesting, thought I'd share it. So with Obsession, you have a gorgeous amber accord. It's warm and resinous and vanillic, and then it is complemented by the things that go best with amber. Spices, a little bit of civet, a little bit of stone fruit, a little bit of sandalwood, and it all comes together to create something literally that smells obsessive. Like you smell it, you cannot stop thinking about it. And while the original version from 1985 is just superb, the current formulation is not terrible at all. So the next time you are at a Sephora, if you have one near you, have yourself a sniff of Obsession if you haven't yet. It is one of the oldest and best ambers ever. It is still out there going strong. It was created by Jean Guichard for Calvin Klein. So the next category is Christmas, and this was an easy one for me. It had to be Panettone from Milano Fragrance. This to me is Christmas. It is a loaf of soft, sweet panettone bread dotted with candied orange and ginger and splashed with just a bit of rum. It is so hyper realistic, so Christmassy. I also have this in a candle, and I actually love the candle more than I love the perfume. I love having the smell of like a perfumey version of a freshly baked panettone around my house and on myself all through the month of December. Okay, the next category is iconic. If you look back over the thousands upon thousands upon thousands of perfumes created, how many of them would we actually call icons or legends? Like 0.5%? Less than that? So to me, this is what makes an iconic perfume. Has to be widely, widely known. Has to stand the test of time, and it has to be good. To me, there is a difference between iconic and infamous. So the iconic perfume that I have chosen is Dior's Poison. Iconic scent, iconic bottle, iconic name, iconic marketing campaign, iconic flankers, iconic everything. This is stewed plums and berries and big heady florals and spices and warm woods and vanilla and balsams and resins, and it's all dripping in honey. This was the perfume on everyone's shelf in the 80s. It was the perfume you knew instantly when you smelled it in the air. And it is the perfume that is still sitting on the shelves of big department stores and big cosmetic stores today. It is still magnificent and still iconic. Okay, the next category is beach. So this one I had to think about. When I thought beach, I thought, what would I want to actually wear to the beach? And once I answered that question, I knew it could only be one perfume, and that is Delta of Venus from Eris Parfums. This is the greatest guava perfume probably ever. Antoine Lee has created something so green and so juicy and so refreshing in this perfume. It is not too sweet, not too tart. It is just right. It is like Goldilocks guava. There is a little bit of a breezy aquatic quality to this. It feels like water droplets on top of guava skin. So I don't like the beach. I don't like to be hot. I don't like the sand in my feet. I don't like to go in the water and risk feeling something slimy touch me. I don't like sitting for long periods of time, but if I were to go to the beach, and for whatever reason that is, I can't imagine, but if I did, this is what would get me through that experience and maybe even make me like it. And the last category is sleeping. So, how fitting, because this was so easy to choose. It is my most frequent bedtime reach and probably the perfume that I have talked about the very most on this channel. It is Violet Ida from Miller Harris, my lipstick on a bunny perfume. There is something so cozy and so comforting to me about this scent. It has that carroty waxiness from the iris and the orris and a sweet fuzzy quality. I actually almost never wear this during the day. In fact, I don't think I've ever worn this in the day. Isn't that funny? I will have to go back into my journals and check, but I am pretty sure that this has only ever been a bedtime perfume for me. So we will end here with my favorite sleeping perfume and one of my favorite perfumes of life. So thank you again to Claire for posting this fun tag. I really enjoyed thinking about these categories and making this video. I hope you enjoyed watching it. and I would love to know what some of yours would be. You can leave the whole list in the comments if you want to. I will read it. Thank you. So thanks so much for watching. Thanks for spending your time here with me, and thanks for chatting perfumes with me in the comments. I hope you have a great day, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.